is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Lauren Renee Zalay, DDS. She is born and raised Chicagoan. Since the early age of 3, she knew she wanted to be a dentist. Her road to becoming a dentist began at the Latin School of Chicago. She then obtained her undergraduate degree at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and her DDS from the University of Illinois Chicago. Dr. Zalay's specialties include root canals, crowns, veneers, fillings, Invisalign, dentures, implant restoration, digital dentistry, and Botox procedures. Her most important specialty, however, is her incredible ability to put patients at ease and allow them to enjoy their trip to the dentist. She feels it's someone loves their teeth, then they will smile brighter and live better. During dental school, Dr. Zalay earned the honorary Linda B.K. Tharp Award for compassion in providing health care to patients. Her published works can be found in Doctor of Dentistry magazine. She continues her education through multiple dental study groups, including the Seattle Study Club, and enjoys discovering the latest procedures, trends, and research in her field. Additionally, Dr. Zalay is an active member of Chicago Dental Society, Illinois State Dental Society, and the American Dental Association, which she's literally up the street from. In 2019, she received the Doctor Award recognizing her achievements in dentistry. Lauren is living out her dental dreams each day with University Associates in Dentistry, UAD, patients, and resides in the city with her husband and 2 daughters. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, my gosh, you are just really into this PPE. I saw you in the news. I contacted you. There was an article on the radio that says Chicago dentist Lauren R. Zalay, DDS of University Associates in Dentistry, fears another rush for PPE as COVID returns, who said we probably go through 900 gloves a week, 20 to 30 gowns a day, and hundreds of masks a week. And I posted that on Dental Town. So what made you all of a sudden go from Chicago Bears fan-loving dentist to Miss PPE Queen?
I was just so frustrated, and I'm so frustrated with the whole entire pandemic in general. But, in March, when the hospitals didn't have PPE, people were calling me from hospitals, and we donated everything. We gave to Northwestern Hospital, our gowns, our masks, to help, thinking that in May, when we reopened, there'd be enough PPE to go around. And there just wasn't. And what I could find was insane prices, which I'm sure everyone's experienced as well. And I just wasn't going to have it because we deserve the PPE too. And this time around, now that the pandemic is not doing so well, I don't want dental offices to be closed down because of PPE. So I want to be able to get it to them, if those suppliers can't.
It's really been a bizarre pandemic for America because America's usually, they're always, all that in a bag of chips. And, man, they really got smacked hard. They were not prepared for this. The New York Times did an article, Inside the Chaotic Cutthroat Gray Market for N95 Mask. And it's just embarrassing that this is our tribe. I just thought America would be so much better than this. Taiwan had something like 17 deaths, and they're the same population as the state of New York, which had 35,000 deaths. How does Taiwan and the state of New York have the same population, the same number of people, and one loses, a dozen people, and one loses 35,000? What is that? What has this experience made you think of the old red, white, and blue?
Well, it's definitely disappointing, and I have to say, I wish that there was PPE being made in the United States. I know there is some, but it's not the majority. And, we're better than this. We can do this. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I think that has a lot to do with it. I also know, because I've been getting the PPE, and, the regulations are all wrong. Like, for example, the gowns, like the level 2 gowns or level 3 gowns had to be labeled as level 2 gowns to be able to get in past customs into the United States, stuff like that. So just because you can find it somewhere in China or overseas, it doesn't mean it's necessarily getting here. So I think there have just been so many issues like that. I think it needs to be internal in the US, and it's, right now isn't the time. Right now it's just to get the PPE, but in the future, that's something we need to focus on.
Well, it reminds me, this is my second rodeo with the virus. I graduated in '87, and AIDS popped up in
Right.
'79, and it's gone on. It went on to kill 36 million people. I mean, it was just a disaster. But I remember when OSHA first got involved, they told my dentistry we couldn't wear short sleeves and shorts. And here in Arizona, where half the year it's over 110. My staff hate it because they all love the fact that everybody wore white shorts and a little T-shirt that said "Today's Dental," and my staff kept saying to me, "Well, how the hell am I going to catch AIDS by wearing shorts and
Right.
short sleeve shorts?" And now here it is, 30 some years later. Dentists are always asking on Dental Town, and you replied to one of them, said gowns in COVID-19. Can someone please explain to me how a gown would protect someone from COVID or any other airborne pathogen? N95s definitely, face shields possibly, but gowns? How the hell? How is a gown going to protect me from COVID and AIDS?
So a gown, so let's say you're working on patient A and they are COVID positive and that splatters all over you. The aerosols are all over you. We don't really know that much about it yet, but presumably the aerosols are all over you. And then you go do an exam in a hygiene room, right? So you're bringing everything from that patient to the next patient. And what if that patient doesn't have COVID? Hopefully none of them do, but you're bringing it from room to room. So instead of changing your scrubs from every patient, you just have another layer that you can change. So if you're working on one patient all day, not necessary. But when you're hopping from room to room and then you go into the lunch room, you're eating lunch, you're bringing the aerosols into there. I mean, I think that they have said it seems to be more respiratory than it does, touching things. It's kind of changed a little bit recently, but they still don't know. So why would you take that risk of bringing one patient's cooties, mind you, into another patient's room?
Well, I'm obviously more committed about this than you because I shaved my hair. I had as much hair as you did, and I couldn't fit it all under a cap, so I just shaved it. How come you're still walking around with 40 pounds of hair? Do you tie all that up under a gown?
I was blessed.
You were
Yes,
blessed.
of course. Yes, this all goes back. I don't even wear makeup. This is like the third time I've worn makeup since March, and I didn't even remember how to put it on. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm fully protected, but I have to say, I feel protected. I'm not worried about working. I'm not worried. God forbid I see a patient that has COVID. I feel like I'm fine and well protected. I don't think I need to, be worried that I'm going to get it. And so it helps to ease my mind and the staff's mind as well. And I have to say, the patients love it because they are all very nervous and it makes them feel like we are taking the necessary precautions that may or may not prove to be true in the future, but right now they feel is the right thing to do.
Well, the thing that probably stressed you out because you got two daughters, and I have four kids, four dogs. I mean, what I was worried about is when you come home, especially when they were little.
Right.
They'd run and attack your legs before you could take everything off and go shower, and you can't talk to a dog. Mowgli still doesn't understand what's going on. So I like the gown thing just so that when you get in your car and you go home, I mean,
Right.
are you seeing a lot of people completely change at the dental office, leave everything at the dental office, and change into something for the trip home?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually been our policy for years. So we have a washer and dryer in our office, and all the staff wear scrubs and they all change there. And we've been doing that for 15 years. So that's nothing new. So when I get home, I mean, I wash my hands and, I don't feel as concerned about myself because I feel like at work, I was wearing all my gear, I was protected. I changed before I got home, and then I get home and I feel better. But yeah, I mean, the first few weeks going back, I mean, I was super nervous, even though I was doing that, and I'm showering all the time and, so.
Well, I'm really surprised on this virus because when I was in school, I can still remember getting my first flu shot, and the guy saying, "Now remember, this is just for the influenza; it's not for the common cold." And I said, "Well, why don't they make one for the common cold?" And they go, "Oh, that'll be next year. 90% of colds are rhinoviruses, and 10% are the SARS viruses, and oh yeah, that'll be next year." And they were telling me all through dental school that they were an inch away from vaccinating for Streptococcus mutans, decay, and P. gingivalis, and we were all sitting there in CAD cam. The French were saying that it was going to close down all the dental laboratories in America, and
Right.
so I was very, very skeptical about this, but I was thinking the old school attenuated viruses. I didn't see this messenger RNA coming out of the blue, but I did buy my 4 boys the hepatitis B vaccine when it wasn't covered by insurance, when it wasn't approved, just for healthcare providers. And I think I paid like $189 a piece or something. So are you going to be aggressive like that and you take the vaccine? I mean, they just met the other day and said healthcare providers and people in a nursing home. So I actually qualify on both ends. I'm old enough to be in a nursing home and a healthcare provider. Are you going to be aggressive like that, like you were probably on the hepatitis B vaccine, or are you going to sit back and wait and say, I want to see what happens to the first 10 million people that take it?
No, I mean, I would get it tomorrow if I could. I mean, it doesn't bother me. However, I don't really believe I should be the first one that gets it. I do think the hospitals need to get it before us that are actively dealing with COVID patients. And I also think, the nursing homes. And I think dentistry will be either in that healthcare group or right after both of them. I'm not sure. I think it's going to depend on state also. I know in Chicago, we had to fill out a form to the Illinois Department Public of Health um, to register to potentially get the vaccine. So I did that, but I'm not so confident that we will be in the first batch. But if we are, I'd love to have it. And I think my staff would feel the same way. I don't think it'll be mandated, but
So what are you going to do if your staff doesn't want to take it? There's a big threat on Dental Town. My staff does not want to take this, take the vaccine.
yeah, so I'm not really sure. My husband's a lawyer, so we'll see what he has to say. But I do have a few patients that are in large hospitals in Chicago, and they said that the hospitals are mandating it for them. So I'm not sure how they're doing that or if you can do that, but they have already told me that they will have to get the vaccine if they want to continue working there. So I mean, hopefully we can do something like that.
So
But
so so what have you learned the most about your journey through this pandemic? I mean, you've been at the forefront of it. You've been on TV. I mean, you're the only. I mean, I've seen you on television more for dentistry for Chicago, and that's where the ADA is. I mean, they got 500 employees. How far away are you from the ADA?
only like 3 miles, maybe. Our office is like a mile, but my house is like 3 miles. So
So
very
what
close.
is that street? Is it called Magnificent Mile or Miracle Mile?
Magnificent Mile is like Michigan Avenue, and then the ADA is on Chicago Avenue, like half a block off of there.
And how's what would you say it was Miracle Mile?
Magnificent. The
Magnificent
Magnificent.
Mile. What does Magnificent Mile look like? Is it a from the pandemic? Is it a ghost town? Is it still thriving? What's the COVID situation look like on the ground in Chicago where you're at?
It's very sparse. The Magnificent Mile is not necessarily a ghost town, but I would say 10% of what it was. So there are a
Oh
few
my
people.
gosh.
But I mean, I work in the loop, and we when we went back in May, there was no one. I mean, not a soul. And now I would say, like, over the summer and now, people come down and they're like, wow, there's no one there. I'm like, no, that's how it was in May. Now there are actually a lot of people. So as you can imagine, there really aren't a lot of people going out. And I don't think we'll be closed down again, but I think that people not wanting to leave their houses may cause us to, not have as many patients and obviously affect our practice.
So how has it affected your practice? You're in a big practice, University Associates in Dentistry. My gosh, you have one, two, three, four, 5 doctors there. How has it affected your practice? We had to close down between St. Patrick's Day to Cinco de Mayo. We had to close down for 2 months.
Right.
And then the ADA, at first they said we were back up about 70%. And then Marco revised his estimates and said that we're actually down like 38% for the year. And he's predicting next year we'll be down about 20%. Is that kind of what you're seeing in Chicago, that kind of contraction?
I wouldn't say we're down 38%, but we're definitely down, I don't know, maybe 20% or so. We were really, really busy up until like October, I would say. And then November, it was like kind of like a dead stop. I think the first week everyone was watching CNN and Fox News for the election. But then after that, they were saying stay at home, don't go out as much. And so the doctors have been kind of busy, but hygiene has really taken a pause. And obviously that's what kind of moves our practice a lot. So I think these next few months, we're going to see a downward trend. Whereas normally you would know in December with insurance and everything, we're super busy. I don't think that will be the case. And I obviously listen to Dr. Fauci and other people, and, they say that the surge in a few weeks could be even worse than it is now. So it's pretty bad in Chicago right now. We had 12,000 cases yesterday. So,
and you can't even go into Canada anymore, can you?
Yeah. Do you blame them?
Oh no! I mean, my gosh, these are crazy times, and I think I think America has been the most crazy country of all the countries, and it just really shows the pros and cons of having an authoritarian government, which Americans despise. But my God,
Right.
during a pandemic, Singapore and Taiwan's not even very authoritarian. I understand people are afraid of China and Singapore, no democracy and all that stuff, but gosh, the democracies, I mean the countries, Vietnam's got 90 million people and it borders with China, and they haven't had a dozen deaths. It's
Yeah.
just, it's really, really been eye-opening. I mean, you always say you love teeth. Everybody born in their own country loves their country. I don't really know any people born in their own country that hate their country. They all think it has challenges, but my gosh, this really exposed a lot of flaws in our American system. And when people say the country's divided, I don't see any evidence for that. I mean, when you look at the political party registration and voting, it's been basically the same my whole lifetime. I graduated from high school in '80, so my
I was
America
born
is.
in 80.
You were born in '80? Oh my gosh! Thanks for just ruining my day. You could be my daughter, because 10% of my class was pregnant at graduation. That's what Catholic school Bishop Carroll was like in 1980. But my gosh, what I was wondering is, why do you love teeth? I mean, that's a big part of you. And then when the pandemic broke out, why did you just all of a sudden love to help so many dentists and are trying to help so many more? Where does this all come from?
Well, let me just say that, I can't even believe the situation we're in. Exactly what you were just saying. How is the U.S. in this position? And how is this female random dentist, that would be me, from Chicago, providing people with PPE? Why isn't our government doing this? Why is it that I have to get PPE to people, at the lowest price possible? So, so that being said, I mean, I love teeth, and I've always wanted to be a dentist. I have no idea why. No one in my family is a dentist. My was a principal. My dad does woodwork and stuff. So I don't know. It's just always really interested me.
Did you have braces in grammar school and
I
fell
had
in love?
braces. I had impacted canines. I never lost a tooth. I had to get them all taken out because they erupted lingual. I mean, I had everything, and I had a headgear, all that jazz. And, I don't know. It's always interested me. And one of my favorite artists is Jim Dine. I don't know if you know him, but
Jim Dine.
Yeah, Dine. And in his early years, he drew pictures of dental instruments and teeth, and I had to buy one. I mean, I love teeth. And I think the main thing with dentistry is helping people. So I don't have to, usually deliver horrible news like it's the end of their life or anything like that, but I'm able to help them get them out of pain. And I think that's where the PPE kind of steps in. I've been fortunate to know someone who has relations in China who's able to get the PPE. And not everybody has a relationship with someone like this who can get it. And so why not get it and help everyone? Right now, whatever company, dental distributors in general, actually, they all can't get nitrile gloves. Well, I can get nitrile gloves and I can help people. Yes, it's not the cheapest price. And, maybe it's more than we're used to paying, but we can get it for people. We can prevent dentists from closing down, and we can stop, all this insane price gouging. And, I can do whatever I can. And if I'm able to help people, like, I'd love to.
So where did you meet and get turned on to Jim Dime? I mean, and why does he paint teeth? Is he a dentist or?
And I don't know if you can see like his early career. He did dental instruments and toothbrushes and stuff like that. I don't know if you're looking for it now, but yeah. So I actually love his heart collection. He does a lot of hearts. And like learning more about him, I realized he does dentistry, and so it got me really interested. But my dad is really into art, so he turned me on to Jim Dine, and that's how.
Wow, that is interesting. Yeah, I see. He does all kinds of instruments. That is really really interesting. Artists
They're
are
very
so
hard to find because they're
yeah.
from his early career. He's known for hearts and kimonos and stuff like that, but from his early career, you can find that. It's pretty cool.
So, what does the situation look like now? Do you feel? They're saying, they filed for emergency approval for the vaccine. Some are saying that as early as December 21, they might be able to start shipping 10, 20 million doses a month. Do you think that, it used to be all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth. Do you think it's going to be all I want for Christmas is a vaccine for me and my dog? Do you think we're approaching the end, or do you think it's gonna be the same for most of 2021?
I think we're approaching the end. I see light at the end of the tunnel, but I think the tunnel's still is kind of long. I think that probably by May, June, everyone will be fine, but I think it will be, a while. For example, I was actually, and I'll give you a call, but thinking of going to Arizona for spring break with my kids in March. And, I'm a little weary about that. I think dentists will be vaccinated by then, but my husband might not be. And who knows about children, and who knows how the comfort level of everyone. And until a lot of people are vaccinated, we're still going to have this issue with hospitalizations and the virus, kind of moving around. So I think we got like another 5-6 months, and that makes me feel better. It's what a year it's been, But when people say I can't wait for 2021, I can't say I necessarily agree, because it's not like on January 1st, things are going to change. We still have a little bit of time to go. But if another vaccine comes out, that might be more millions of doses every month. So my cup is half full,
Well, on that thread you post on Dental Town, I added there's another article. Kevin Kabugo, dentist, has 3 practices in North Bay, said one of his biggest ongoing issues still. He just published this November 18th in the newspaper, is still being able to afford enough PPE. And he says to this day we're still getting gouged. Who has offices in California? He said a box of gloves went from being around $6 to more than $30. A lot of us dentists were like, okay, what do we do to compensate for that? And then, of course, the insurance companies, they didn't want to have a PPE fee. So do you feel basically all the dentists? I remember reading one time where Shine was a quarter of the supplies. Patterson was a quarter. Benco, Burkhart, Shine, and Patterson is pretty much, they probably sell 80% of all the supplies to dentists. Do you think that their costs went up? and they're passing it on to us, or do you think it's more gouging? What letter grade would you give the big four: Benco, Shine, Burkhart, Patterson?
Yeah, so I think the prices went up, and I know that for sure because MRI Care, whom I'm working with, they are getting the PPE in from China from same factories as Shine, Patterson. I'm not sure about Benco, but all the major distributors. And so I know what it's costing out of China, and it's more. It's way more than we're accustomed to. However, MRI Care doesn't have any markup on it. Has minimal markup basically to cover shipping and that kind of stuff. But Patterson and all these other companies need to have a certain amount of markup, to make profit. So that's where I get frustrated because I understand all the, we used to pay $1 for a gown, and, gowns now out of China are like $3.80 just to even get them, right? But there's no reason they need to be selling for $7 or even $5. They can sell for $4, $4.10. Dental offices are not seeing as many patients. We were also closed for 2 months. Like, even though the price of goods went up, do what you can to help us. Do what you can to keep that price as low as possible. But unfortunately, to me, it seems like supply and demand. We have these gloves, and we know you need them. So whatever the price is, we're gonna charge you because we know you need them. So that's why I've teamed up with this company, because I know they're not gouging me. I know these are the prices out of China. I mean, I'm specifically speaking with the people in China. So they've gone up, and that's unfortunate. But and the other issue is that I'm not buying 50,000 gowns at a time, right? As a dentist, I need 200, maybe 300. So it's hard to keep the price down. I see on these other websites, buy 10,000, get like $1 off. Well, what dental office can buy 10,000 gowns? That's not very practical for us. So I took matters into my own hands.
So how does a little girl born in Chicago have Chinese connections that you can talk to? Where did this come from?
Yeah, so someone, major philanthropist who'd like to remain anonymous, that's a good friend of mine, has the relations there. He has donated millions of masks to the city of Chicago because they needed them. So there's a lot of donations going on too. And that's my connection. I just want to say, on the website on mri-care.com, we also have a
website what?
The website is mri-care.com.
That's your website?
Yeah.
Okay, well, say it again. www.
Yep. MRI-
CARE.com. So this is your new website.
Yeah, and we have a donation tab on there. So you can also buy masks to donate to some charities in Chicago, and we will also donate if you buy masks. So it says, if you see the donation tab, it says, buy 4 boxes, and then MRI will donate another box to places that really need masks right now.
Wow.
So not only can dentists get PPE at the lowest price I can possibly find and bring to the US, but we can also donate to some other local charities that need. So it's really, this is all from a philanthropist who has relationships in China, and I've become their spokesperson because I really believe in it.
So first of all, just some terminology. On one of the threads on Dental Town, gowns and COVID, you posted you can sterilize the SMMS disposable gowns. I get them from an amazing low price source. First of all, what does SMMS stand for? I'm not that dumb. I'm asking for a friend.
I know it's I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know it off the top of my head.
So then is it related to your website? I see on the so if I go to MRI-care.com, it says, "Welcome to MRI. Born from philanthropy, MRI came into being through our desire to donate N95 masks and other critical protective masks to underserved communities and clinics. To date, over 1 million masks have been donated, and we plan to continue our mission to make certain our communities are safe in the wake of COVID-19 and beyond. We are proud to provide wholesale distribution of personal protective equipment, including disposable face masks, nitrile gloves, and non-surgical gowns to the public. If you are in search of a large quantity bulk PPE, you've arrived to your destination. MRI provides the same quality PPE as manufacturers that produce FDA. So what is MRI? Is that magnetic resonance imaging?
It's not. I think it's just a name they came up with. I came into the picture after they had started doing all the donations and stuff. So I'm not exactly sure where MRI came from. So I don't know that part, but they started in March, and when our dental office couldn't get anything, I reached out to him, and I kind of became part of it in June. So I'm not really part of it. I'm just the spokesperson trying to help people.
So you're just a spokesperson for this website?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to help. I mean, I joined a lot of groups on Facebook for dentistry, and I started to notice that, people are looking for PPE. So I was like, here you go. Here's a great place. This is where we're getting it. Back to your gown comment, though, on the SMMS, though. The SMMS gowns are not very plasticky. They're what dentists were used to before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic started and all those materials weren't available, we started getting PPE gowns, which are more like plastic. Some people would say it was more like a raincoat or a poncho. So the ones we have aren't very plasticky, but they are somewhat plasticky. And the SMMS ones are the ones my office uses, because those are the ones that, dentists were used to from before. So it's that original material.
Huh. And wow, there's just so much. The cool thing about this whole pandemic is I had no idea in March that over the next 6 months I'd read, several hundred research articles on viruses and virology and all this kind of stuff. How would you describe the pandemic for yourself and dentistry and PPE? Was it challenging? Was it depressing? Were you excited to put on your gloves and jump into the ring with Mike Tyson and that fight? I can't believe I paid $50 for a fight, and then the next day,
my husband almost did, but then he didn't.
Well, it was so funny because when they were both walking out, I was saying to myself, do they have an injury? I mean, they're kind of like walking and they're drifting to one side, and then after the fight, they both admit to smoking pot before the fight. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how Muhammad Ali used to do it back in the day, but it's a new world now. But how would you describe how your main emotion from March to now?
Well, I would say I never thought I'd have to practice dentistry in a hazmat suit per se, but I definitely don't like that. But I also think I have never known so much about a mask before in my life. I used to just put on a surgical mask and go in with a patient and just assume it was fine. And now I didn't even know there were levels to them. N95s were used to treat Ebola. These are things that as a dentist, you don't really see very often. So I think I've learned a lot, but I cannot wait for it to go back to normal. I mean, I am just sweating all day in this stuff.
Yeah. And do you think it's headed back to normal pretty quick? Or
not pretty quick, but I can say confidently that in 8 months from now, I think we'll be back to normal. I mean, knock on wood, but a lot of dental offices haven't really been affected because, we wear PPE normally. We do wear masks. So, it wasn't as widespread, but it did help us to some regard.
So what are the PPE sources now? Are you you're doing your MMRI? Where are most dentists doing their PPE sources now? And what would you tell them about your MRI/care.com?
Yeah. So, I mean, major dental distributors do have some things, but supply is limited. So it's more difficult. So I see a lot of people on Facebook saying, I don't have gloves. Where can you get gloves? And so it seems that there are some more companies probably similar to MRI that, are trying to get dentists the same thing. And I'm really just like the guy in California. I mean, I'm trying to price shop. because we're getting hurt, with collections and having patients in, that I'm trying to do everything I can to save. So it takes a little bit of legwork, but we get it there. I love a good deal.
And is that where a lot of this comes from? You just love a good deal?
I love a good deal. And if I'm getting a good deal, someone else should get a good deal too. I shouldn't
So
be the only one.
so is
Um,
the name of that company just MRI?
yeah, MRI LLC, correct.
MRI LLC. But you don't know what MRI stands for?
I do not. And it's not magnetic resource imaging.
It's not yeah,
Mm.
I don't use any yeah, that is amazing. And do you think after the pandemic, are you still going to be interested in this, or what will your mission be if a year from today everybody's vaccinated and it's no longer a front page story?
We've talked about it a little bit. I mean, I think it depends. I don't think it will be as much of a passion for me because, maybe I won't be able to help in such a dire situation. But yeah, I'd always love to be a part of something that, can help us get something. And I also really, really trust MRI because I know that they're getting it and then selling it for almost no profit. And so that's nice to hear. And so potentially in the future, if prices go down, maybe they can do the same thing. I mean, we're getting everything from them and saving so much money. So, but I mean, I really hope, the gloves on MRI-care.com right now are $20 a box, which, I would love to get back to $6. I mean, there's no question about it, but I also know how much they're costing out of China with the freight and to get here. So, it's kind of a, I wish that MRI can exist forever and give everyone the best price because we all deserve it. But hopefully the prices go down, which I actually think will take longer. We probably won't see that for about a good year, I would think.
And what do you think of China's reputation with all this? Do you think it's going to be harmful to the Chinese brand? How do you think? I mean, you're dealing with them. You have context there. So
Right.
I love some of my friends over in China. But how do you think their country's going to come out of all this?
Well, I think Joe Biden is really interested in producing in the US. So I think that, in years to come, many years to come, China will probably not be producing as much PPE as they do now. But I don't know. I mean, I like Chinese people too. So I hope everyone does well.
Yeah, it's tough because I can tell you, I've lectured in 50 countries since 1990, and every country I went to, I always loved it because you didn't go there as a tourist and stay at the Holiday Inn and do the whatever bus tours they have. You were picked up at the airport by a carload of dentists ready to go out and have fun, but it's funny because it seemed like the first night they always kind of fill you out and you have drinks,
Yeah.
and as soon as they feel safe. Then they would level into you about everything America has done to their country over the time. But I have learned that anywhere you go on in the world, the people all love the people. It's just the government, you know what I mean? And they no matter how horrible or what America did or another country did, they didn't blame it on the country and all the people. They blamed it on whoever was the HOA at the time. And but my gosh, China, it just seems like that country I've never seen where everybody is so happy and smiling, working 7 to 7, 6 days a week. And then they only get off Sunday, and they all tell you that that's their worst day because that's the day they got to do all their laundry and cleaning and shopping, and that's actually their hardest work day. But it's just such a all things smiley country, and I noticed the press didn't really cover them landing on the moon the other day. But did you see the launch pad of that of their spaceship? And
Yeah, it was
that
amazing.
building open up away from it. I mean, people
Yeah,
just don't realize. I mean, they got 4 Chinese people for every American. So they got 4 times as many human resources, and they
right.
work so hard, and they're so happy. But I think this is going to be a big bruise on the reputation.
Well, I think it definitely opens up people's eyes. Like I said, you can talk to a factory in China and you can get, you can say, oh, I want to order, 100,000, you know, masks, but then you have to get it here. And that's really been a huge problem. And, every time a shipment passes customs, we're like, yes, we did it, So if it's made in the US, you get rid of that hurdle. And I think it can be huge for our economy, but I think China has a lot going for it too. I mean, I just want everyone to be happy.
Yeah, and they were always called the sleeping bear. I mean, for 5,000 years, they were pretty just a sleeping bear. Go along. I just have never witnessed anything to the contrary. But God, these are strange times. So, what have you learned on Dentaltown? You've posted a lot on Dentaltown. What have you learned on Dentaltown that surprised you? Reading what dentists are posting about or saying or talking about.
So what I think is interesting is that everyone has a different point of view and no one knows what's right or wrong, And so, I may be a little bit more aggressive in wearing the PPE. And then, like you said before, someone may feel that, what's the point of a gown, that kind of thing. But I actually think it's food for thought, right? So it makes you think about, why do I need a gown or why do I need stuff like that? But as a side note, what I love on Dentaltown are the cases when there's like a case and everyone kind of gives their input, because the doctors I work with, we are all so different. And that's what's so fun is that when we have a patient and we all kind of talk about what we would do and there's no right answer, it's just nice to get a perspective sometimes. So that's my favorite part of Dentaltown besides the PPE.
Well, my favorite part is on any of the other social medias. If you disagree with me or pop my bubble, like my mom's on Facebook, and I mean her, and my two older sisters went straight into the nunnery after high school. They've been nuns longer than I've been dentists. And if anybody disagrees with anything in their little Catholic bubble, oh my God, they're just deleted and banned. And my mom will call me up. I can't believe I had to delete, I had to ban, but usually she's calling me or my brother to teach her how to ban someone on Facebook. But what I think is really interesting on Dentaltown is you don't have the freedom to ban who follows you or not. And you can just tell, and I know them, and I podcasted many of them, that when someone actually disagrees with them, they have difficulty breathing, arrhythmias. I mean, and it's always the same dentist where when you go to their dental staff meeting, the dentist just presents a one-way lecture. It's like, dude,
Right.
you need to stop going to your staff meetings. You need to have your office manager doing, because you got a big team here. So, I like the fact that, you can report abuse, and we have a lot of volunteer moderators that, if I could say I disagree with you. I can't say I disagree with you because you're a stupid Bears fan. I mean, come on.
Well, I think I got reported because someone said, like, where can you buy PPE? And I put, mri-care.com, and they're like, do you own this business? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to help people. And they're
I know.
like, I'm like, well, can't I just help? But I love going to lectures where dentists show their, happy cases, and then they also show the cases where things go wrong, because no one's perfect, right? So why
You
show
mean other than me?
only what?
Well, I'm perfect.
Well, except you.
Yeah, my
And
mom.
me, of
My
course.
mom told me I was. So you got to believe it if it comes from your mom.
My mom said I'm unique, so I'm gonna go with
You're
that.
unique. Yeah, my mom calls me perfect, and then she starts gagging herself. You just posted you posted that on the thread, COVID second wave, are you preparing? You said, I'm getting all the PPE I will need for the winter. I'm assuming there will be a shortage again. It's December 2nd. Do you think, when I think of winter, and it's winter here. It's been down to, I've been waking up and it's 50 degrees. Last 3 days I walked outside the patio and had to go back in and get a long sleeve shirt.
I don't feel bad for you.
You don't feel bad? But do you expect further shortages in December, January, February? When do you see this PPE shortage slowing down a little?
Yeah. So,
And why do you assume there'll be a shortage again?
Yeah. So so listen, we've been in this since March. Okay. I noticed the shortage when I came back in May. So, in my opinion, since May, there has been a shortage to some degree. I think it got a little bit better in Chicago in the summer. But May, June, July, I don't know, maybe August and September were a little better. And now we're having a shortage with nitrile gloves. That's the newest thing I hear about from everybody. So, so my fear is if there's another surge on top of this surge, that's where all the PPE goes. And so then, what PPE is going to be left for January, February? I mean, my first instinct is how right now are we short on gloves? I don't even comprehend this. We've been in this 9 months. How are we short on gloves? But we are. So if we're short on gloves now and states are building field hospitals, I mean, the PPE is not coming in fast enough. I mean, there's just no question about it. So I wonder if, either we'll still be in a shortage through February and then it'll get better, or maybe it'll get better in a month. But I definitely don't see the shortage, getting better right now.
We have a lot of, I think 25% of our viewers are still in dental kindergarten school. And why, you said nitrile gloves. So talk about nitrile gloves. Why latex gloves versus nitrile gloves? Why do you think you're having a shortage of nitrile gloves versus latex? And why do you prefer nitrile gloves over latex gloves?
So I actually prefer the PCP, the polychloroprene gloves. We use those over the nitrile sometimes. But I think most people use nitrile. And the reason I know there's a shortage is because if you go on the Henry Schein website and you type in nitrile gloves, there are none. You can't even get them.
You say you like the PCP gloves?
Yeah, polychloroprene. I like those. We use both, but I like those also.
And talk about that. Why? Gosh, I don't even know if I've ever used those. PCP. Polyester. So talk about that. It's a
So they're non-latex, so that's nice. But hospitals need nitrile. I mean, and so what's happened? It's not that there's necessarily like a shortage in general. It's that we're using them too quickly and too fast. So hospitals use nitrile. All these places use nitrile, and then the dentists they're kind of like, okay, there's nothing left for you guys. So that's how I see it going. So it's just, you can't get the PPE into the US fast enough to be able to supply the demand.
So you prefer the PCP, which is polyurethane palm coated gloves.
Yeah, I use those a lot.
Wow, I don't even know if I've ever. How would someone know if they were using those? Do they look different or?
No, they just say it on the box.
Huh. And why, when did you start using those?
So we use those and we use nitrile. I don't know, maybe we started like a year or two ago. Maybe 2 years ago. This year's gone. I mean,
what would percentile? What would you assume the percentage of dentists on using latex, nitrile, or PCP? What do you think?
I'm not sure, but it sounds right now like a lot of people use nitrile, because when you see a topic go up on Facebook and everyone's looking for nitrile. So I would assume that more people are using nitrile, but I don't really know.
That is really interesting. So back to dentists on Facebook groups and Dental Town. Everybody talks about they'll talk about a divorce, but getting 5 doctors to agree on anything. I mean, like we're talking about latex versus nitrile versus PCP gloves. I think this all the time about DSOs, where they 6,000 graduates come out of a school year. They want a job. I mean, older dentists don't really want to hire some kid out of dental school who's done 5 fillings and 1 root canal on a typodont. It's nice that when they've had 3 or 4 or 5 years experience, but it seems like if they take about 5 years to get their own practice, and in that 5 years they have about 5 different associates. I mean, and it doesn't, and sure, the big brand names get all the attention because they live in a big aquarium, but a lot of these jobs are provided by private practicing dentists, and it just doesn't seem like dentists are happy in associateships. And eventually they really only go open up their own practice when they're so damn miserable, and they just hate the entire world, so they lose the fear of owning their own business, and then they start their own business. But you got 5 people in a dental office. How does it work? Is it an office manager leader? Is one of the dentists a leaders? How do you solve simple things like the 3 different types of gloves? If you ever wanted to test, in economics, they always had clarity tests, and I love Milton Friedman's clarity test for healthcare. He called it the little blue pill, and he was from Chicago, University of Chicago, in your backyard, where all the greatest economists are really from the University of Chicago. If you ever walk down that hall, each one of those huge paintings is somebody who got a Nobel Prize in economics at the University of Chicago. I mean, it's just sacred ground for me. I mean, I love visiting that more than the ADA building. But my gosh, Milton Friedman said, when they said we spend too much on healthcare, he said, okay, well, here's a clarity test. And that's what they always teach in economics. I want you to simplify this to one question, yes or no. So you're going to die tonight, or let's say you got 2 daughters. Let's say your favorite one of those 2 daughters. Which one would that be? Would that be the first or second one? She might find this. Oh, come on.
It's a tie.
Well, see, it's easy for me because when they ask who's my favorite kid, it's the grandkids. I mean, the best thing about my 4 boys is the 6 grandkids they made. They're like 10 times better than the boys. They're so amazing. But he said, okay, so your favorite grandkid's going to die tonight. You can buy this little blue pill, and she won't die. Or if she doesn't buy the blue pill, she dies. How much will you pay for that pill? So I'll ask you, you got 2 daughters. One of your daughters, your favorite one, I assume it's the baby. The baby's always the favorite in every house. Your baby daughter is going to die, and your only option is you got to buy this little blue pill from me, or you don't buy it and she dies. So how much will you pay for that little blue pill?
I'll pay anything.
So then how can you say that we spend too much money on healthcare? I've never been at a funeral where they say, well, at least we didn't have to pay our deductible for the insurance. I mean, I would do anything. I'd give my grandkids both liver, kidneys, all the money in the world to keep them alive. And so the clarity test for our dentists insane, go into a practice like yours with 5 dentists and say, okay, look, we're just talking about fillings. We're just talking about fillings. An MOD on number 3. You 5 dentists, the assistants are tired of finding different burrs for different dentists. So we're all going to agree on just 5 burrs for a filling, and we'll set it up. These are our filling burrs. Now pick 5. Oh my gosh. One would immediately try to shoot you. Another one would jump out the window. I mean, some of these offices, 3 dentists where their assistants are going crazy, they can't even reduce it to 15 burrs. You're doing an MOD composite on a molar that no one's going to ever see in your life. Like, looking at you right now, I can see your upper 8 teeth. I still haven't seen any of your molars. So this is an MOD on a molar. How many burrs would you need for that, first of all?
How many burrs?
Yeah, how many different burrs? How many burrs just for you? And then how would you need for an MOD direct composite on number 3? And do you think you could get all 5 of the dentists in your practice to all agree on the same 5 burrs for all restorative to standardize it?
Yeah, we get along so well. I mean, I think we could pick out 5 burrs in a heartbeat.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's amazing. Every DSO dentist I've ever met in my life said, "What is the deal with burrs? We had a dentist walk out and quit because we wouldn't put this one burr on the deal." I mean, so why do you think you guys are like that?
So, well, there are 4 of us mainly, and then a periodontist comes once a month. So it's mainly 4 of us. I don't know. We get along so well. So two of the doctors, Dr. Marcus and Dr. Bear, started the practice years ago. And then there's myself and Dr. Shelkoff. And so we're younger. And, we all just kind of agree. And I don't know, maybe I should thank my lucky stars, but we get along so well. And of course, there are disagreements, but we kind of all do our own thing to some regard. Like I said, it's nice to come together and talk about a case. But if I did it one way and a doctor did it another way, it's not like one of us would be angry. It's really like the patient comes first. So, I don't know. I think we're just really lucky. They're my boys. I love them.
They're your boys. So you got two daughters at home, and these are your boys at work?
I have a husband at home too.
But do you think it's just they're just a more laid back character? Is that what you would say? I mean, they're just more mellow people, and that's why they can get along and do this, or what would you say?
Yeah, I would say everyone's kind of laid back and respects each other. But then I also think that if someone really has a strong opinion on something, the other ones are like, okay, um,
and why would you of all the specialties, why do you think periodontics is the one that comes into your practice?
So we do we have the prosthodontist is one of the four, and then another one of the doctors does a lot of surgical. So perio is kind of the only thing that's not covered in any of that. We don't see children, so we don't need pedo.
Oh my God, you are a genius.
And then I do Invisalign, but we don't do traditional braces, brackets, or anything. So we have kind of everything else covered, but not perio. So he's been coming in for many years. He's fabulous.
And you only have a the only specialty you have is a periodontist.
Correct. Yeah, he comes once a month.
And which one's that? Is that
Dr. Youssef?
That's Dr. Youssef?
Yeah.
But you said someone does the prosthodontics?
Yeah, that's Dr. Shelkoff is a prosthodontist.
So then you have the prosthodontist is full time, and the periodontist comes in how often?
Once a month.
Once a month. That is very interesting, because that seems to be the new business model. I mean, I've noticed for 10 years that any mother who takes her children to a pediatric dentist is going to ask, will little Billy need braces? And then they got to give him a form and send him down the street and all this stuff.
Right.
And when a pediatric dentist opens with an orthodontist, I've been watching in my backyard. I mean, 1 + 1 = 3. They just grow immensely faster. And regarding implants and prosthodontics, I mean, Clear Choice is an amazing example where they added the implant surgeon with the prosthodontist restorative and the lab tech. They did 1 + 1 + 1 = 5, and that company's been sold 5 times. I mean, it's so profitable. So you don't see children, so you have an adult practice. Do you think a big part of it is just good old retail, where it's a one-stop shop? You can come here and we can place the implant, we can restore the implant, we can do everything under one roof. Do you think that's a big part of your practice success?
I do. I really do. And it's so nice for patients because, so I don't place the implants, but I restore them. So myself and the other doctor will work together. So then if God forbid the patient has an emergency, she knows 2 of the doctors, and so it kind of like feels more like home. But yeah, patients love that. They don't have to go anywhere else. So.
And so someone listening to you right now, anybody who's lectured a million times knows that you say, hey, are there any questions? There's no questions. Okay, well, let's break for a break. And then 20 people come up to ask you their very unique, special, rare question that everyone else in the entire room has. So they're listening to you right now, and they have that special question. How would they contact you? What would be the best way?
You can email me directly, Lauren Zalay, LaurenzZalay @gmail.com.
Wow. And what do you think most of the questions will be? You've answered so many questions. What do most people calling you asking about?
Probably who's more perfect, you or Howard?
Oh, I gotta tell you about that. That I asked you about that. Are you preparing for a second COVID wave? They did a poll that you posted on that poll. COVID second wave, are you preparing? 39% of the dentists said business as usual. I don't expect it'll be much different than it is now. 18% said stockpiling significant cash in the business in case of major slowdown or closure. So that's 20% worried about that. 15% stockpiling a significant amount of supplies in case of major slowdown or closure. 2% said not worried the government will bail us out this year if it gets bad. I'm sure that was sarcastic votes. 13% said deferring new equipment purchases, and 10% said it's mostly hype. Enough said. And I got to tell you, it's a good thing you don't come to Arizona, because Arizona is the Florida of the West. I mean, if you retire and on the east side of the Mississippi River, you go to Florida, and if you're west of Mississippi, you come here. And so it's really two different states. Like when you go to Florida, it's kind of crazy, because the more south you go, the more north you get, because the more south you go, it's all New Yorkers and New Jersey. And then when you go north, it's really the South. I mean, it's northern Florida is the same as Georgia. And southern Florida is more like New York and New Jersey. But in Arizona, I can assure you, at least 50%, and I think it's about 80%, think it's all hype and crazy and insane and stupid, especially if you're 40 and under. I mean, they just, oh my gosh. And I have to admit, my 4 boys, every single one of them, if you even talk about coronavirus, they just roll their eyes like, well, I'm glad when we were growing up, every time you got the flu, they didn't wreck the whole country, so it's just, it's mostly hype. But it sounds like at least 10% of the dentists on Dental Town think this is just completely hype, blown out of proportion, and crazy. What do you think?
I would say to those dentists, God forbid, I hope you don't get it, and I hope you're fine. And yeah, I think it affects different people different ways. And personally, I'm not scared of it, but you never know how it's going to affect you. If everyone knew you're going to get the flu for 2 weeks, you're going to have a fever, and you're not going to feel good, I think everyone would be almost fine with it. Like no one wants to get sick, but fine. But it's the fact that you don't know if you're going to be a long hauler. You don't know how it's going to affect you. You don't know if you're going to have to be in the hospital, And so I think that's the worry that comes with it. And, to the people that don't believe in it, if God forbid you get it, I hope you're fine, but you never know. And I think it's just scary to some people. And, like my husband says, if we don't need to go to dinner, like, why risk it? Why go to dinner if we don't have to? I think we should go, No, but, I mean,
who had to learn how to cook in your house? Was it you or your attorney husband?
Well, I do the cooking, which is why my husband's lost 25 pounds during this pandemic.
So, I know we've gone over an hour. Do you got a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Just a few overtimes. Another thing that caught my eye about you right out of the gate is how you love teeth, you love dentistry, you just seem to be a very lovely person, but you love root canals. And when you talk about Botox, Invisaligns, and crowns, when these kids come out of school, I've seen it several times where a kid will come out of school, work for a couple of years, and he'll buy some big cosmetic practice in my backyard for like 1.4 million, where this guy's doing a bunch of $25,000 cases and all that stuff, and he's looking at it technically, and he can do all those procedures, not having any idea that he has no idea how to present or sell or collect the money for the case. And they'll buy an office for like 1.4, and the first year it'll do 750. I mean, it's just a tragedy. And you have to really have amazing treatment plan presentation skills to sell someone cosmetic dentistry. And a root canal is $1,000. They're in pain. They're begging you to do it, and the insurance subsidizes it at 80%, and they come out of dental school, and half the class is done with molar endo. And we have 4,000 endodontists in America doing, they used to 8 or 9 molars a day, but then when microscopes came out, it really slowed their production. Now the endodontists are down to 4 to 5 molars a day, because they're taking an hour and a half long, instead of an hour. But it scares me when they come out of school $400,000 in debt, and they've already made up their walnut brain. I hate root canals, and then they want to go chase all this soft and pretty Botox, bleaching, bonding veneers. And I'm like, dude, real dentistry in real offices, they can get people out of pain with an extraction and a root canal. And if you can't get them out of pain by a root canal or an extraction, you're not going to be $1 million practice. I mean, the odds are so much against you. So what would you, I want you to put your mom and dad pants on, and what would you tell a 25-year-old that walks out of school and says, I hate endo. I'm going to be the Botox bleaching veneer queen of Arizona. What would you tell her?
So I would tell her, felt the same way as you, but the more you do, the better you get. Because I mean, I would even say like 5 years ago, maybe something flipped in my head. When you start finding those canals, it's so rewarding. And when the patients feel better, it's amazing. But I would also say get a CT scanner, and then you can really see where the canals are and make yourself feel a lot better about it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's scary because the files are so skinny. You know, it's something that you can really mess up. And I think that's scary. And I think failure is scary coming out of dental school. So I still struggle with that too. And I've been out for 14 years.
So what do you think was the biggest breakthrough in your mind to start finding canals and having fun finding the canals instead of going in there all stressed out that you're never going to find the canal, and now all of a sudden you think it's fun when you find it? What was the turning point?
You know, there is a it's a I don't even know what it's called, but it's like a reference guide of what a typical tooth should look like. So, you know, if you have if it's a lower molar and you have 4 canals, it'll look like a rectangle versus a triangle. I don't know if you can find that, but and then you know that tooth will have 4 canals versus 3. And when you start to notice these patterns in these teeth, it made me feel a lot more confident because I could figure out, well, I do need to look for that 4th canal, or no, this is only 3 canals, versus, you know, a circular shape in a premolar versus like an oval shape when you open it up. So stuff like that, you really can familiarize yourself with those pictures and then kind of picture it while you're doing the tooth. And then you know if you should look for more canals or not.
I want to give you I want to give you my 2 tips on extractions and root canals. And the first thing is, you know, when you got to go lay a flap, you know, 2-inch long flap is going to take the same amount of time to heal for a 1/2-inch long flap. And, you know, if you can't see the tooth, Stevie Wonder, you wouldn't ask Stevie Wonder to help pull it. I mean, you got to see. So I just, you know, when it's a wisdom tooth that's impacted, it's a mess or whatever, I just lay a flap until I easily see a lot of white mandible. And then it seems like anybody could remove the tooth. And on a root canal, I mean, it seems like every time I've seen someone in trouble, I mean, I don't think I could do the root canal the way they're doing. I mean, they got this little bitty hole the size of a BB. I mean, again, I'm back to Stevie Wonder. I mean, the biggest ways to increase quality of your dentistry is magnification. You know, you wear magnification, you got to see. Dentists have microscopes. A CBCT is, you know, imaging so you can see. But what I always do is first, what is the final restoration? So if there's a big old MOD amalgam with recurrent decay and you know you're going to have to do a crown, well, if you do your crown prep first, number one, you find out you got to make sure the tooth is restorable. But when you've reduced the cost, when you prep the whole thing, then you can make your access. And when you make your access, make sure it's a like a 557, some burr with the right angle. Because when you drop down, if you have like a round burr, you don't really feel when you fell into the floor. But with a right angle, you know immediately you dropped into the deal, and you just don't touch the floor, and you make an access so that you can visually see. You've already prepped it for a crown, so it's 2 millimeters shorter. So when I see working length films and notes where it'll say like one was 19 millimeters, one was 21 millimeters, and one was 17 millimeters, it's like, okay, you're measuring off a cusp, a furca, a valley.
Right.
But when it's prepared for a crown, it's so easy to get the length because all 3 or 4 files will be the same length. But you nailed it on the head. Of course, you're going to get the crap beat out of you on your first 100 tennis matches, soccer games, wrestling matches, and root canals. And the only way you get good is you just got to do 1,000. And then when you say to me, well, the endodontist can do it better, well, I want to show you a little research where 8.5% of emergency room visits are odontogenic in origin, and that's embarrassing for dentistry. Why are these hospitals that are flooded with COVID-19 patients are talking about there's now 100,000 Americans in COVID care right now, and at the emergency room door is one of your patients because they have a toothache and you're
Right.
closed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? I mean, man, just man up, pull up your pants, put on your big boy britches, and just do it. And if it beats the crap out of you, I mean, like Dental Town, we put up 400 online CE courses, and they've been viewed 1 million times. You can just do it. In fact, we put up a course today. Where is that course we put up today? Oh yeah, we did a really interesting deal on Dental Town. We just put up a complete series. We just released a CE series for Mastering Adult Minimal Oral Sedation by Dr. Mark Donaldson and James Goodfield. And it's a 10 CE course series. It's 19 and a half hours long for $336. And I mean, you know, you don't have to get in a jet and fly all the way to Scottsdale to take a course. And you have to sell bleaching bonding veneers. But when they're knocking on your door and they have a toothache and you got to either pull it or do a root canal, dude, you're a doctor. And you just have to do it, because if you don't do it, it really hurts with everything. So was there anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't bring up, or?
No, we brought up lots of stuff. I thought it was good.
And my final question again, but where does this come from in you? I mean, you're all smiley and you talk about how you want to help so many dentists and you want to help more. This company, it's not even your company. You're the spokesperson for it. Where does this all come from? Does this come from your mom, your dad? You know, where does this come from?
I mean, I think I have a really nice family, but I mean, I want to help. I don't have many chances where I can help, you know, a lot of people at one time. Yes, I can help a patient here and there, but this is an opportunity where I can help. And so take the bull by the horns and help everyone.
I've always been amazed by it, because the research has been consistent for the 40 years I've been reading, and it's about 14% of Americans are all the joiners, and that's your Kiwanis Club, your Rotary Club, your local dental society. I mean, when I hear people bitching about the ADA, it just makes me so upset, because I mean, here's all these volunteer dentists where, you know, you left the dental office and drove straight home, popped a beer, and turned on the football game. And some other crazy guy is going to go down to the dental society for 3 hours. And I remember when the ADA, actually me and it was Rich Maddow, the Maddow brothers of the TBSE seminar, we were complaining loudly that they didn't advertise. So the ADA, they flew us down there. They all met in a room. They said, "Oh, okay." It was like we gave them their marching orders, and Gordon Christian went with us, and they said, "Okay, we're going to do this." Turns out, you know, they got a budget, they got some money. After 5 years, they couldn't get the dentist to agree on the wording of a 60-second television commercial. It's 1 minute. 5 years, they couldn't agree on 1 minute's worth of words. Mine was simple. My deal was get James Earl Jones and have a glass of water and have a small upper denture slow motion falling into the water. And his deep voice says, by age 64, 1 in 10 Americans have 0 teeth. By 74, it's 2 in 10. 1 in 5 have no teeth by 74. And then here comes the upper denture, and then it splashes in the water, and it says, not getting your teeth cleaned every 6 months is the first sign of problems. And, you know, just something really simple. But dentists, they're just complicated. They're so smart. They're so educated. They're so well-read. My boys picked that up when they were little. They said, Dad, you know, every time I go spend the night at somebody's house, if their dad is a physician, a dentist, or a lawyer, there's like 1,000 books in there. And if they're not one of those 3 things, there's no books in there. I mean, dentists are readers, they're all leaders, but I just always wondered, what makes someone like you that top 14%? Do you think you're born with some extrovert, expressive, volunteero gene? Or do you think, again, where do you think it came from? Do you think you were born that way? Or do you think something in your environment made you the 14% that volunteer for everything?
I think I was born this way. I mean, my mom raised me and she did a fabulous job. And, she's very giving too, but, I don't know, this opportunity kind of landed in my lap and I'm just doing it, I've never really had anything like this, similar to what you were saying. I would go to work, do my work and go home and, and be with my husband or my kids. And so this kind of just fell into my lap. And when I start to help some people, it's like, well, I can help more and I can help more. And listen, like you had asked before, is this long-term? I mean, I don't know, but I know right now we're in a crisis and I know right now I can help people, hopefully I can help them in the future too. But, right now I know that people need this. So.
And that's what I love about you, because you talk, I've had, I think one 3-star general in my office, it's a retirement area, and a whole bunch of 1-star generals. And they always say the first casualty of war is always the battle plan. No matter how much you prepare, they hear the gunfire and everybody dives into the trenches. And when this thing came out, I said, look, this is when you need to rise and shine. This is not the time to figure out everything wrong with dentistry in America and the whole damn world. This is when we need you. This is when your team needs you, your patients need you. So, when the shit hits the fan, that's when you got to put your beer down and say, okay, hold my beer.
If MRI can get PPE made in the US in the future in people's hands, like super cheap, but high quality, so be it. That would be amazing. But right now, it's just to get to the people,
So her website is mri-care.com. She gave out her email, Lauren, Lauren, Zalay, Zalay, @gmail.com. What is Zalay? Is that Scandinavian?
So it's my husband's name, and his ancestors are from Russia.
Russia.
And do you want to hear the story?
Absolutely.
So his great-great-grandmother, or maybe it was just I think it was his great-great-grandmother, came over on the boat. And she was actually in her later years a comedian on cruise ships. That was her job.
Wow.
So she tells this story, and so no one knows if it's true because she was a comedian on cruise ships. So she comes over from Russia and she's at Ellis Island, and her last name was something like Zapolsky, Sacholsky, something of the sort. And they say, okay, you can pick a new name. What's your last name? And she goes into a store and she goes, Bengay, Zalay. and so she went with Zalay, and we don't know if it's true or not, because like I said, she was a comedian, but apparently it comes from Bengay.
My gosh. Well, Miss Bengay Zalay, thank you for rising to the occasion during dentistry's worst era pandemic in my 40 years of practicing. And thank you for all you do. Thank you for your energy. And it was just a real honor to podcast you. And I wish you the best of luck on your mission.
Thank you. It was so great talking to you. And when I'm in Arizona, I will give you a call.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.